Hello and welcome to the Better Business Place. My name is Glenn Kirkwood, aka That Referral Guy, and today I have a very, very special guest. I'm going to bring her on now. She is the amazing Kate. Kate, can you see us?
I think so. I can't see you guys. I can see me. I think you're still sharing your screen, but that's okay.
Kate has been in PR for 30 years, and one of the passions that she has is about bringing that agency sort of feel without the budget to the small business owner. So I've asked her to come on today to share what she knows over those 30 years, and she's got some great tips for us. But for those people that don't know you, Kate, why don't you just give us a little bit of an insight into who Kate is?
Sure, thank you. Crazy woman with a gorgeous Dalmatian, 2 cats and 2 delicious boys is the heart of me. But in terms of what will interest you guys, 30 years, as Glenn said, working in PR on both sides of the country. And what broke my heart more times than I care to mention is amazing entrepreneurs and business owners just like you who knew that having a journalist tell their story was going to be a game changer, who knew that that massive sort of one voice to many was going to really ramp up their business and take it to another level. And they would come into the agencies that I worked for and just simply not be able to afford the monthly retainer, 4 to 6 grand, month in, month out, month in, month out, month in, month out, for a minimum 6-month engagement. You know, even at the lower end of 4 grand for 6 months, that's $24,000 to, you know, give it a go and hope that this beast called media and publicity is going to work for you. And that was just too much of a risk for most business owners to take, and they couldn't really afford that amount of money per month. So I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and I wanted to give the power of the media agencies, the PR agencies, into the hands of small to medium business owners so that you guys can harness free media exposure for your business kind of whenever you like. And that's what I do now, largely through my Meet The Press MasterClass, where I bring journalists directly to you. But that's not what I'm here to talk to you about today. I'm going to give you the lowest of low-hanging fruit and explain to you where journalists hang out looking for experts just like you so that you can hang out there as well. It's a no-cost service. It's not mine. I have I have an association with it, and my best friend owns it, but other than that, I have no association. It's a free service, and every small business in this country should be on this service, and that's what I'm going to unlock for you today.
Perfect, perfect. All right, so tell us, I've seen you across lots of different, many, many years, and I've had you come and speak to my business breakfast groups. I've also come down and crewed at the event you were just speaking about, which is an amazing event. All right, but tell us, who are the people that you really serve the most? I mean, in all those 30 years now, you've brought all that information to the small business owner, but tell us the types of businesses that you serve in that community.
Well, there's a vast array of niches, if you like, or industries. At each masterclass, we only have one from each industry there because a journalist doesn't want to speak to 5 dentists or 5 physiotherapists or 5 life coaches. So we have a broad range of businesses that we speak to. But I guess at the heart of each and every one of those businesses who come to the masterclass is an entrepreneur looking for the edge. I call them edge entrepreneurs. So they're doing well, right? They're already doing well. They've got traction. They may have staff. They're product or service offering is really solid. They've got great examples of how their product or service has served people. So the runs are on the board, right? The masterclass isn't really suitable for startup businesses yet. It will be suitable for them in 3 to 5 years, but it's not suitable for them yet. So we're talking about businesses with a proven track record who are really looking for that edge over their competitor. You know, their competitor and them might be going neck and neck on Facebook, or they might be going neck and neck on LinkedIn, or they might be going neck and neck on Instagram. So all of the ponds in which they're fishing for potential new clients, there's always a competitor there. And so what media gives them is the lone voice of being the expert in that particular category. And then it is their voice out to many. So you completely wipe out the competition. The competition doesn't exist for you any longer, because if a potential client comes to your website having seen you even in those traditional channels like Facebook or any of your social channels, and they go to your competitor's website, and on yours, you've got as seen on the Today Show, or as featured in Inside Small Business, or as interviewed on 2GB, and your competitor has not. Who do you think the customer is going to go for? So that's what I mean by edge entrepreneurs. Those entrepreneurs who are looking for the edge in their communication and in their business over and above that of their competitors.
Mm-hmm. Now, I always used to wonder, I'd see these, watch the Today Show or listen to someone speak, and I'm like, how do they get so, I mean, I've seen some train wrecks, but I've also seen some people who have just done really well, right? And after attending your masterclass, I can see why, because you do a lot of work in prepping them, getting their pitch right, getting them really ready for the media, really. That's what it was all about. And I saw them practice, and I saw them grow. It ran over three days. And you're running this event now. You ran it virtually as well. With all of that sort of going on, and being in business, for 20 odd years, what has been the biggest challenge you've faced, and how did you overcome it?
I think for me, the biggest challenge, and we're kind of feeling the rubber hit the road of this year. I'll talk about the challenge of 2020, which everybody had many challenges in 2020. But the overarching challenge, I suppose, is the business was growing probably faster than my systems were growing. Mm-hmm. So our summer project has been to completely revamp and implement a brand new CRM system. We're redesigning the website because we've run the masterclass for 9 years now. I believe that we're getting what I call eyeball fatigue. So people are seeing kind of the same website over and over and over. And so I think we're getting eyeball fatigue on that. And certainly we did some testing last year, and the proof was in the pudding. There's definitely eyeball fatigue with what we had, so we're moving to a new version of that. But I think the overarching challenge has been the doing of the do in the business. Mm-hmm. has skyrocketed, but the systems have kind of been like the recalcitrant flag in the background that has kind of kept pace with where we're going. So that, I think that's something that all small to medium business owners can relate to. The challenges of last year, you mentioned the live stream. Certainly, I will admit to having a teeny tiny little bit of a meltdown in March when I realised the full impact of what this global pandemic, whether you believe it is true or not, it is what it is. When that meant that we couldn't gather physically together in the same room. I mean, my events are physical, right? They're in the same room. The journalists come to the business owners in the same room so that every single business owner could pitch. So I'm like, I did have that moment of gasping, wondering what on earth I was going to do. And we were able to recreate the event. I had already made the decision at the end of 2019 to move it from a 3-day masterclass, Glenn, that you spoke of, to a 2-day masterclass. So they're longer days, but it's only 2. And that was a bit of a crystal ball move, really, because if I had tried to restructure and redesign a 3-day masterclass via live stream, I think that would have just tipped people over the edge of, oh, that's too hard. Mm-hmm. So fortunately, I'd had that crystal ball moment and adjusted it to 2 days prior to having to then switch it up again online. So we really rejigged a lot of the content. We reordered the content. And when we talk about delivering it via live stream, it's not just me at home in my gym jams speaking to everybody else out there in their gym jams. We essentially build a broadcast studio, and we broadcast it from there with multiple camera angles, and we have multiple breakout rooms, digital virtual breakout rooms. So of course we need all of the infrastructure for that. If there's 9 breakout rooms, we need 9 different computers and 9 different screens and all of that sort of. So it really becomes a massive broadcast production, and we were able to do that. It wasn't without its bumpy bits, as you would have seen the first time you do it, but by the time we got to the October event, we changed up a few things and it was absolutely seamless. And masterclass graduates who had been to multiple of the masterclass said that October one was close to the best they've ever been to, whether in person or live stream. So that was an amazing.
So when you had the meltdown,
Yeah.
could you envisage that that's what it would look like and be one of the best classes that you've run? Because it really did. It's where you got tested. Your systems got tested, you got tested, your staff got tested, the whole structure of the event got tested, and yet you came out and you smashed it. That's kind of a little bit ironic that that's the way that you teach your students to go through and get prepared, and then you yourself had the same sort of situation happen. TV crews, or your version of the TV crews right there, and yet you really nailed it out of the park, probably because you're just a bit of an expert in that area, and you've just done it so many times that yes, you have those meltdown moments like every business owner does. I mean, if you're watching this live now, just smash the like button now if you're just sort of going, if you can't relate to what Kate was going through when staff left or something changed your whole world and you went, oh my God, how are we going to cope? And yet, it makes you a better person, a better business owner, and better for your clients as well. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think when I had the first meltdown, I allowed that. And I think this is one of the greatest tools entrepreneurs have is what lives between our ears. And so I allowed the indulgence of my freak out and my meltdown for 24 hours. And I just sat in it. I just allowed myself to melt down. I allowed myself to cry. I allowed myself to talk to my two gorgeous boys about it because we share everything. It's just the three of us, so we share everything. So I was really vulnerable and just allowed myself to sit in that vulnerability and the fear. And then I really took control of my mindset and said, okay, we can actually do this. And it wasn't just, that positive talk vibe. It was deep, deep, deep gratitude for what we had. And you're kind of right there, Glenn, when you say that I've done it so often. It's not like I was taking a MasterChef audition dish that I'd cooked once into an online environment. This is a tried, true, tested Margaret Fulton Women's Weekly Kitchen kind of proven thing that we've had running for 8 years. And that was easily able to be translated across. So it was, and even one of my team said, the reason this worked so well is because you are so solid with your content and you never, ever lost sight of the difference that you make. And that's what I kept focus on. Is this, if I do this, will it make a difference? If I do that, will it make a difference? Not to me, but to the attendees of the masterclass, because they're the most important people in the room. And I always kept that laser focus on, is this going to make a difference? And, I had to have some tough conversations along the way and really set in place some very clear professional boundaries when people were not up to the task. And that was really hard too. So I grew through that. But through it all, my focus 100% was, will this make a difference to the attendees?
correct.
And if the answer to that was yes, then it was a hard yes. And we implemented whatever changes needed to be made.
Now you live is it sunny down there today?
It's a little overcast. It's a little grim, I'll say. I just looked out the window. It's a little overcast, but it's quite warm.
Yeah, it is a warm day today. So, hey, why don't we get in and share with people the gift that you're going to bring them today?
Sure.
Get into the presentation. So, if you want to bring up your screen.
Sure.
And I'll just click allow.
Beautiful. Alrighty. So as I mentioned earlier, what I want to share with you today is actually really got nothing to do with my business, but it is the coolest tool that small to medium business owners can access in order to be able to hang out where the journalists hang out. So there's really two types of publicity. There's the reactive type, and that's what we're going to talk about today. And then there's proactive. And the proactive type is when you are pitching your idea, not your business, your idea that sits behind your business, the issue that sits behind your business, you are pitching that out to journalists. So you are being proactive, taking your reason for being forward to the journalists. That's proactive publicity. We don't have time to talk about that today. So what I'm going to share with you is the easiest way to generate free media exposure for your business, and that is through reactive publicity. And reactive publicity starts with a resource called Source Bottle. Now, if you haven't heard of Source Bottle before, the best way to describe Source Bottle is to describe it as like a dating site between journalists and experts. And journalists hang out on Source Bottle and they put out notifications saying, I'm looking for an expert in this, this, or this. And then those experts also hang out on Source Bottle and you answer the question and then magic happens. So what I'm going to do is talk you through my 9 steps to Source Bottle success so that you too can absolutely nail it and generate free exposure for your business. So the first thing you do is you go to the Source Bottle homepage. It's just sourcebottle.com. You go out there and you'll see down the bottom of my screen, you can see here, I'm a journalist or a blogger. Don't worry about the left side. You want to come over here to the right side where it says, I'm a source seeking publicity, or I'm an expert seeking publicity. So you want to register for Source Bottle. It's a free service. I say again, this is a free service. When you get into Source Bottle, you can choose the categories, choose your topics related to your business. So if you are, if you have nothing to do with parenting or education, you wouldn't tick that box. If you had nothing to do with property or technology, you wouldn't tick that box. This is the back end of my profile, and I've got all of the boxes ticked, as you can see there, because we will send out these call outs to our masterclass attendees if we see something that matches their business. And in fact, this morning I've sent out about 6 to our attendees. You will get an email twice a day. So if you're in business, there's a category for you. So just tick which ones apply to your business. But I would also invite you to think beyond the walls of your business. Think beyond just what you do. So I'm a parent and I've answered many call outs about parenting. I'm also a dog owner. I mentioned Wallace the Wonder Dog, the Dalmatian, earlier. There was a call out a couple of years ago where the journalist was asking, do you bring your dog into work and have you got any horror stories? And I used to work for a PR firm and she used to bring her 2 little white fluffy yap yap. Not that all small white dogs are yappy, but these 2 were. They were little yap yap things. And if they peed or pooed on the carpet, she would make the junior staff clean it up. It was really gross. So I shared that story and they featured me, and it was a 3/4 page story. And because at the time I was involved in a factory, I had Wallace the Wonder Dog down at the factory and he was sitting on the logo in the factory. So I sent that photo and that photo took up almost 3/4 of the page for that particular business. So think beyond the walls of your business when you're choosing your topics. So when you get call outs, you will get an email twice a day, one between 10 and 11-ish and the other between 2 and 3-ish. It takes you about 10 seconds to scan it. Please don't think, oh my God, this is something else I need to do with my day. It takes 10 seconds to scan this list and see if there's something that fits you. If there is, click it and respond and I'll show you how to do that. If there's not, just delete the email and move on. Not a big deal. Please don't overthink it or make it harder than it needs to be. And journalists definitely want more than just COVID-19. And as you can see here, not COVID related. Please no COVID, no COVID stories. So if you think that the media is just consumed with stories about COVID, think again. So I just want to highlight a couple of call outs. The one at the top about an internal narrative, that's actually one that I answered myself. There's lots of people that live up there in my brain. It gets quite crowded and quite noisy. But the main voice that helps me with all of my media work, her name's Madam Secretary. So I'll show you exactly how I responded to that call out in a moment and what Madam Secretary had to say about that. So this is the call out about the internal narrative. So when you click on that link at the top there, do you have an internal narrative? You'll be taken to the Source Bottle site. This is what the call out will look like. So this journalist, Gary, said, apparently there are 2 types of people in the world, those who have an internal narrative. Their thoughts are like sentences that they hear, and those who don't. I want to speak to both, right? So I put my comments in the box, and this is what I'll show you what I said later. So when you scan the email, you get to the call out, you respond. My number one tip about Source Bottle is timing is everything. Often, if Source Bottle call out has come out in the morning, by the afternoon, that journalist will contact Source Bottle and say, can you pull that call out down, please? I've already got people. Even though their deadline might have been 5 days forward, people respond very quickly, and you must also respond quickly. If you see something that floats your boat and you think, I'll get to that tomorrow, it's too late, don't bother. Don't waste your time. You really do need to be very nimble and get to these Source Bottle call-outs really quickly. The other reason is to be mindful of why you respond to the Source Bottle call-out. And it is for one reason and one reason only, and that is to get the journalist to either call you or email you. That's the only reason you respond to the Source Bottle call out. You don't need to give them everything in the Source Bottle call out because they won't read it. They will probably get somewhere between 10 and 50 responses to each call out, and they'll scan each one, pick out who they want, and they'll ditch the rest. So if you send them War and Peace, you'll be ditched. It's as simple as that. So you want to respond in a way that entices them to reach out to you and seek further information from you. So how do you respond then? If you're not giving them War and Peace, what are you giving them? So you want to be really conversational. Think social media. This is like a social media platform in a way, although it's not strictly speaking. But that type of conversational, supportive, passionate chat is how you want to respond. So you wouldn't respond and say, to whom it may concern, in response to your query about those folk who have an internal narrative, I wish to submit the following thoughts for your consideration. Like, you wouldn't do that. You just don't do that. And you'll see exactly what I did with that call out later, which will give you a better insight into how to respond. But please keep your tone conversational, upbeat, passionate, and make sure you stand out. So here's an example of a light, chatty response. Not mine. This is a different one. I want to try and mix it up and give you as many varieties of responses as possible. So the call out was financial advisor needed for short comment or advice. And then when you clicked through, it said looking for a financial advisor who can give advice on what to say to someone when they're having financial difficulties. And I, at the time, was working with a financial planning client. So I responded on his behalf. I said, hello, I have a financial planning client who would be great at this, as he does a lot that's off calendar to help people who find themselves in a spot of bother. Look forward to answering your questions. That was it. That was it. And the key two words in that response are off calendar. So I've forecast to the journalist that she's not going to get the same old sort of responses from my guy. They're going to get something that's quite unique, quite different. So she loved it. Thanks for getting in touch. It's for body and soul, blah, blah, blah. Here are the questions. Away you go. And he got the coverage. So just make it light and chatty. My tip number 4 is show that you're a good fit for them. If they call out for, there was one this morning where they were calling out for health specialists in not mainstream medicine. So naturopaths, chiros,
Bowen.
Bowen, any of those. So if you were not one of those practitioners, if you maybe were an IT specialist who once upon a time went to an osteopath, you're not a good fit, right? You are not a good fit because they want to interview experts on their channel. So you need to show that you're a really good fit for what it is they are looking for. And give them what they ask for. I cannot stress this enough, and I'll show you an example later of some coverage that I got because I simply gave them everything they asked for. If they ask for a photo and tell you it won't be published, give them one. If they ask for the names of the services you've tried with your mobile phone usage, give them the names. Because they don't want to write a story where everyone's used Telstra or everyone's used Amazim or everyone's used Optus or everyone's used Vodafone. They want to mix it up. So please give them what they ask for. Otherwise, you will be relegated straight to the bin without a second glance. Also, make sure you stand out from the flock. This is really important, really, really important. Don't just give them same old, vanilla, vanilla, vanilla that you've rinsed and repeated, because that's the average advice that your industry gives. You really want to give them something that stands out. So the example of that is my gorgeous naturopath Hayden. The call out from this journalist on this occasion was about activated nuts. And the journalist referred to it as a new phenomenon of activating nuts. I want to speak with a health specialist about the new phenomenon of activating nuts. And Hayden, who you can see there in the clipping, he replied, I sent it to him and said, hey, this is a good one for you. He replied and said, hey, there's actually nothing new about the new phenomenon of activating nuts. And actually, it's not a phenomenon at all. It just means soaking them so that they're easier to digest. So he really stood out from the crowd off the bat because he gave a different
spin on it.
A totally different spin. And he was the major voice in this article, and he got 40 new clients from this one article. Wow. Now, Glenn, I don't know if you've ever been to a naturopath, but it kind of costs you, $130 to walk into the naturopath and $1,330 to walk out of the naturopath with all the potions and tonics and stuff that they give you. So 40 new clients for him was a massive return on zero investment except 5 minutes of his time. So this is really cool. This is why I'm in love with Source Bottle, because it gives all businesses, every single business, it gives you an opportunity to get your name in the media and your business in the media, and these are the sorts of results that are possible. So this is a tricky one. If you know what the media is that's making the call out, if it's TV or radio or print, try and tailor your response based on the type of media that it is. So if it's a talkback radio station, you would talk about the fact that you're happy to answer questions from their callers, right? And it shows the journalist that you know how the game is played. If you know it's for TV, you say, would you like me to come into the studio or will you do a live cross? So that you get how the game is played.
They make them feel more comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, oh, this person knows how the game's played. They're going to be good, right? You can't always tell because often journalists will hide behind the title of freelancer. It might be someone from a current affair, but they're hiding behind the title of freelancer because they don't want to tip off the competition as to what stories they're working on. So that one can be a little bit tricky. So you kind of got to be a bit intuitive. Always have other experts to offer. So in the case of Hayden with his activated nuts, he didn't, but he could have referred the journalist onto a dietitian friend or a nutritionist friend for an alternate view. Because if you become not only the expert that shares amazing content, if you also become the source of other sources, they just love you. It compresses the amount of work that they need to do, and you become a really reliable go-to person. And that's what we want for you. We want you not to just be a one-hit wonder. We want you to grow your media muscle and grow your media presence. And by having other experts to offer is a really neat way to be able to do that.
You show a lot of value.
Oh, absolutely. It's about giving massive value. Now, this tip relates to the give them everything they want tip. This is what I mentioned at the front end of our chat. Think beyond the walls of your business. So this is me on a photo shoot a few years ago now with Prevention Magazine. So Prevention Magazine put a call out for inspiring women over 40, and clearly I qualify. So I applied, but in the call out, they were very specific as what they wanted. They wanted a photo that they would not use. They said, a photo that we will not use. Your dress size, shoe size, height, weight, hair color, eye color, and location, as in state. Now, you might think, well, that's a bit intrusive. Why do they want that? And the reason they wanted that is because they were featuring 40 women over a couple of months who were over 40, who were doing inspiring things. And they had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people apply. But some of them didn't put in a photo, so they were immediately discarded. Some of them were too embarrassed to put weight, so they were immediately discarded. Now, the reason Prevention wanted those details of you is because they didn't want all 40 inspiring women to be blonde. They didn't want all 40 inspiring women to be built like opera singers or like little skinny mini gymnasts. They wanted a real genuine mix of ethnicity, of height, of weight, of hair and skin color.
Often,
So the
often we
inspiration
do
behind
this, Kate, where we think we know what they're actually asking, why they're asking the question, and we're going to answer it a certain way. But back to your point where you just sort of said, give them what they want, because they're just going through that research stage, aren't they?
Yes, absolutely. And you may not know why they want it. You might make up all sorts of stories in your head about why they want it. But if they've asked for it, they've got a strategic reason. You know, I remember giving this presentation in person in Sydney last year, and one woman said, "Oh, I would never have given them that." And I said, "Okay, don't." You know, it's not like the journalist is sitting behind their computer going, "Oh, I hope Gladys from Chatswood applied." They don't even know Gladys from Chatswood. So if it doesn't work, don't get offended. Just don't apply. Like, really, don't overthink it. Just, people are so easily offended these days. So she was really offended. She was really offended by that list of height, weight, blah, blah, blah. Don't apply. It's easy. It's easy. Just get in the flow and apply for what works for you. And don't overthink it. But if they ask for it, please give them what they want. And think beyond the walls of your business. The amazing thing about this piece when it appeared, which it looked like that in the end, I didn't even talk about my business in this article. I mean, this was really like they'd unzipped me and exposed my soul. Not exposed in a nasty way. I shared my soul, really. And it wasn't about the business at all. I had women read this article and contact me and say, "We don't even really know what you do, but we loved what you stand for. What do you do?"
So people that wouldn't have usually reached out to you, right? But because they had a connection with you, then found out what to do, and then they go through that referral process and go, you know what? I know someone like that, and I know someone. So again, it's still bringing you more traffic, even though the article was not about you and your business.
Absolutely, because people want to deal with people who are like-minded. I mean, in business, have you ever tried to do some business with someone who's not aligned? Like, it's a disaster. It's like pulling teeth.
If you trust your instincts, it just feels all clunky, and you're not really sure what it is. Generally speaking, now I probably rely more on it, and I don't bring out my wallet, because I'm just like, there's something off here, and I just don't need to do this unless I have to make that decision. So, yeah, when they're not aligned with who they are, their business, or they show up differently from their business to their personal, it's odd.
Yeah. And not only do we feel it, journalists can smell it. Like, if you are incongruent, journalists can smell that, you know, at 150 paces. They don't even need to get close to you to smell incongruency, and they won't touch you. So showcase what you stand for. Don't be afraid to really showcase what it is that you stand for. You know, I remember back when I was doing more consulting before I'd started the event, I had recently given birth to my first son. That's quite a while ago now. And he said to me, you know, "I know you've just had a baby, but I want to be your number one priority. I don't want to be scheduled around your family. I want to be your number one priority." And I said, "I'm not your girl. I am not your girl." And that was a reasonable, potentially a reasonable sized client on a monthly retainer. I said, "I'm not your girl." So know what you stand for and don't waver from that. It will pay massive dividends in the end. So now I want to get into some real life case studies and some real life media exposure that followed. How are we going for time?
Yeah, you're fine. You're good.
So this one was around the Australian Open last year, ironically, and the call out was, "What can we learn from Nick?" And it was after he had that meltdown at the Australian Open. So one of our psychologist clients, really great response here. "Great to see you covering coping under pressure as a topic for an article. It's important area for coverage, whether it's sport arena, boardroom, or other areas of leadership." So instantly in that first sentence, Joe had elongated where coping under pressure happens. And then she goes to unpack it, and she talks about having worked with elite sports and performance space for nearly 30 years. So they just loved her and said, yeah, great, thanks for responding. Let her know that the article was for the leadership review, ask further handy hints. Now, Jo sent in quite a long response here, my feedback, but here's the key thing. On this page, you can see she's given some key tips. What journalists love are takeaways and tips that their readers, viewers, or listeners can apply in their life. So be sure to keep that in mind when you're engaging with journalists, because they love that. So you can see here that she says, thanks, your responses were great. Hope you don't mind, but I combined them because they were a bit long. I would say that was a bit long. But she squished them in, and there she is, in print. Dr. Jo Lukens of the Elite, blah, blah, blah. Nice. She's now got a regular column with that publication, by the way. Yeah. This is really cool. This is another one, looking for experts to talk about the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is one of the most important nerves in the body, in case you didn't know. How does it work and why is it important? Looking for help. So my client responded, hey, the vagus nerve is the most important nerve. It regulates kidney, heart, emotions, gut, pancreas, blah, blah, blah. The best way to ensure there's no inflammation. Now, this middle paragraph where she talks about the ANF frequency devices, that's a little bit like an ad. I don't like that. But she pulls it back by saying you actually don't need the devices. You can manually stimulate the nerve. And I can show you how. Journalists loved it. Thanks for your reply. It's for Body and Soul. So this is national coverage in the Body and Soul supplement. I'd like to chat to you about, she's given the questions. There she is. All of those pieces that I've covered. It went over 2 pages.
Wow. I mean, seriously, what would, if you had to buy that sort of exposure for your business, what would that cost in a paper?
Oh, gosh. I haven't looked at the column centimetre rate for News Limited in a while, but you'd as a guesstimate, you'd probably be looking at, because we've got a half a page at the top, right? So that's probably $10,000 to $15,000, and then we've got another small space there on the left. So yeah, somewhere between 15 and 20 grand, because it's national coverage as well.
So if you're a small business owner and you're thinking, like, well, what sort of difference can this make? This is in a national paper. It would be 40 grand, right? And if you think you've got that sort of marketing budget, but try to do that like 4 or 5 times a year, all right? And just think of how many eyeballs would have been across this that now knows about this particular business, right? And as Kate was saying earlier, if they're looking at 2 similar businesses and one has been sourced in a national paper, all right, or magazine, which one are you going to go for? This is how this sort of stuff works. And Kate's just sharing with you a resource that is at no cost to you. It just takes time, but these are the results that people are getting. Fantastic. Keep going, Kate.
Yep, absolutely. Tips to stay calm. We'll fly through this one but again, she was in Who magazine, like Who magazine. Now, both Donna and Jo, these 2 psychologists, they are just media machines. They have taken what we have taught them at the masterclass, taken those relationships with the journalists and milked them and milked them and milked them and milked them and milked them. And they've now got the skills to be pitching to journalists that weren't at the masterclass. And Who magazine is a pretty neat get for Donna. Now, I just want to, this is another one for Claire. She was interviewed on that. Okay, right. This is the one I wanted to get to because I spoke about it before. The internal narrative. 2 types of people. This is the one where I replied. So I replied, remember, we're talking chatting, we're talking light, we're talking giving them a reason to come and engage with you. Hi there, I have a very strong internal voice and I call her Madam Secretary. She's the brains of the outfit and often comes up with thoughts, ideas and suggestions, usually for clients that I hear very clearly. I also use her for questions or challenges that I have. I simply invite her to take over the challenge or problem and come up with a solution for me. Inevitably, she does. I also have what I call a studio audience around me, and there are times when I can hear them gasp or laugh or even sit raising their eyebrows as what is happening. My kids think it's hilarious. So I've given him 2 really clear indications that not only do I have Madam Secretary who kind of channels down into my brain, but around me I have a studio audience and I can literally hear them laughing at times or gasping and my boys know it as well, and they might say something cheeky and I'll say, oh, studio audience is just shaking their head at you, boyfriend. So it's really real for us, and he obviously felt the authenticity of that response. So he came back and said, thanks so much, great insights, would love to see more, hear more. My features for the SMH, I'd be interested in chatting, are you around tomorrow? So we chatted, and there is the article.
That's amazing. Well, it's not amazing. It's when you follow that particular process, it's almost like a given, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And this journalist actually loved our conversation so much, he has gone on to become one of the journalists that comes to the masterclass to hear other stories from the businesses who attend. So we've now got a great relationship.
Wow, all
So
of that from an article with just a response that was a little bit quirky, a little bit different,
absolutely. So that's what I mean by
different
giving,
perspective.
standing up in the crowd, giving them
Yeah.
something. So that is SourceBottle, my friend. So sourcebottle.com. It is not my business. As I said, my best friend owns it, but I wouldn't be spruiking it if it wasn't a sensational service. And you can see from the examples I've shared with you today, I'm very mindful of the time that that for 10 seconds each day to scan and maybe 5 minutes each day to put out a response.
Mm.
It really is a no-brainer for every single business in the country. Please get on SourceBottle, register for it. You'll be nuts if you don't. It's just bonkers not to be on there, to be honest.
So, Kate, I guess the big question comes up, been sent a couple of inboxes. If I got that, how do I respond and how do I appear on TV? I'm concerned, that I'm not media ready or media worthy and stuff like that. What sort of events have you got coming up that might help train someone, or what sort of resources would you say you should do this next then?
Sure. Well, one of the big free resources is if you responded to one of these call outs and it was for the Today Show, for example, watch the Today Show. Just watch it. Watch how they interact. Watch how the hosts play with each other. Watch how they play with the guests. Really become a consumer of media like you're a student of it, not like you're just a consumer of it. So that's the first thing you can do. But yes, I do have this year we have 3 masterclasses for the first time ever. Traditionally, we've only run 2 per year because they are very exclusive. But because of the success of the online live stream masterclasses last year, we've added a third to our roster. And it's 2 days now, not 3. So we have Sydney in May on the 6th and 7th of May. We have the live stream one in July on the 29th and 30th of July. And then we have one physically in Melbourne on the 21st and 22nd of October. It is application only, but because your people are usually, smarter than the average bear. If they wanted a strategy session to kind of peel back the onion of their media angles, I'm very happy to do that for you. And I think you've got a link.
Yeah, I'll make sure that I put that in the chat. I'm putting that now for those people watching. I can't tell you how much I highly recommend having crewed at this event. The level of attention to detail that you go to make sure that everyone is ready, and having someone like Kate there to guide you firsthand is incredible, right? But I will suggest to you that it is by invitation only. So what you do is you apply, and then you can have a really good conversation with Kate to work out whether or not she thinks you're a good fit. I personally know that there are people that have applied that have not made it. Now, don't take that as offense, right? Just take that as a compliment to sort of saying, hey, listen, I don't want you to spend your hard-earned money because you're not ready yet. Here are the things you should do and get ready. But if you do get accepted, that means that you are the right sort of candidate. She's almost starting to groom you, ready for sort of saying, all I got to do is practice your skills and get you media ready. So we'll practice your pitch. We'll get you practicing that. You'll share that with other people, and then you'll pitch it at the journalists. So I've never seen anything like this. There is nothing out there that I know, Kate. No, there's not. Yeah, that gets you ready for the media, practices it, and then brings the media to you. I mean, come on. Apart from hiring Kate and bringing her into your business, you know, you're not going to get anything better on the market today. So,
I am the sale, baby.
so just click on the link and follow the process. Kate, thank you so much for being our guest today. I really, really appreciate that. Is there any sort of parting words that you wanted to say to the audience that are going to watch this?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. It's always a treat to speak with your communities, Glenn, because you do attract, as I said, smarter than the average bear. If the masterclass sounds like something that is of interest to you, then obviously I would welcome a call from you. But please, at a minimum, please register with SourceBottle and start responding. And when you get that coverage, just flick it over to me on Facebook so that I can cheer you from the sidelines, because nothing makes my heart sing more than knowing that people who've heard the valuable information about SourceBottle and how easy it is to get into the media then go out and put it into action. So just get into action.
I just get one extra question.
Sure.
Somebody said, because your events are now no longer live, does that mean they can come from anywhere in the world?
Oh, yes. Sorry. So there's two live, there's two in person, Melbourne and Sydney. But yes, for the live stream, people can join from anywhere. So last year we had people joining from both New Zealand and the UK. Oh, and the UK girl, she's like a millennial expert, and she has had so much coverage inside Small Business, Leadership Review magazine, and she's also got a regular column in a UK newspaper, all from doing the masterclass. So yeah, join from anywhere. It's fun.
Oh, fantastic. All right. Well, thank you so much, Kate. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. My name is Glenn Kirkwood, aka That Referral Guy, signing off with a reminder to make, build, and share connections. And I'll see you on Better Business Place next time. Bye for now.
Bye.